They back there again, they said.
Okay, I'd like to call to order this meeting of Salem City Council for Monday, January 12th, 2026. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Tigan.
Present.
Councillor Tigan.
Present.
Councillor Nishioka.
I'm here.
Councillor Matthews.
Here.
Councillor Gwynn.
Here.
Councillor Brown.
Present.
Councillor Vang.
Here.
Councillor Nordyke.
Here.
Councillor Varney.
Here.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Here. All right. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the left. Okay, do we have, we're moving on to the election of council president. Do we have any nominations for that seat? Councillor Tigan.
Yes, I'd nominate our colleague from Ward 2, Councillor Nishioka.
I'll second that.
We have,
Ask for any other nominations.
okay, we have a motion and a second by Nordyke. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none. Any discussion? Councillor Tigan, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to nominate our colleague Linda, who's done, I think, an outstanding job over the last year shepherding our council. So very happy to put in this nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Nishioka.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Tigan, for the nomination. I am very happy to be serving this last year, and I will be happy to do it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nishioka. Any other comments? All right. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Varney.
Aye.
Councillor Tigan.
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councillor Matthews.
Aye.
Councillor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Aye.
Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. We're moving on to the approval of additions and deletions to the agenda. Councillor Nishioka.
Thank you. I move for addition and deletions to the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second by Gwynn. Councillor, to your motion.
Thank you. The additions are a report from the Salem Chamber of Commerce, which is agenda item 5A, an informational report and agenda item 5D from Mayor Hoy regarding motion that will come to council on January 26th. And the deletion is agenda item 3.3E, which will come to the council in a future meeting.
Great, thank you. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Varney.
Aye.
Councillor Tigan.
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councillor Matthews.
Aye.
Councillor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Aye.
Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. We're moving on then to council and city manager comment. Does anyone have any comments they'd like to make? Councillor Nordyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Very much appreciate that. I'd like to extend a special and warm welcome to our business community. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope you know that you have a standing invitation to come to all of our meetings and share your feedback with us. My nonprofit has been a proud member of the Chamber of Commerce for years, and I have been so grateful to be able to participate and share in the dialogue, the forums, and the other opportunities that are afforded to membership. And I also want to say to all you other business leaders out there, whether you're members of the Chamber or not, I hope that you will continue to share your ideas with us. I know this is a really tough time to be running a business. You've got labor costs, you've got supply costs, you've got affordability issues, you've got a lot of external factors that are hitting businesses across the state of Oregon. And I cannot speak for my colleagues, of course, but I, for one, know how important it is that we be very mindful about what taxes we levy on our businesses specifically. So I'm really proud to see you here. And I'm also proud to be a member of the Leadership Salem training program. That's been an outstanding program. I want to give a shout out to the staff who are running that. You're doing a terrific job. And I'm really looking forward to our next training. That'll be happening this Thursday. Thank you for this information that you've shared with us tonight. I look forward to reading it with great interest and to hearing from CEO Hoffert this evening. So thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So my reflections tonight, Madam Mayor and colleagues, and Madam City Manager, Mr. City Attorney, they are in reflection to this past year, because today marks our anniversary that we were sworn in to join this team. I'm still looking for the balloons, but I don't see any balloons. Maybe next year. Champagne, Madam Mayor says, okay. It's not a part of the budget, but yeah. A year ago, we were sworn in. A year ago, we began this journey together as one, as a collective, and as a team. And we can all attest that plenty has happened in this 1 year. And one of the highlights, at least for me and probably for many others, is the fact that we had the opportunity to see a levy passed to where we could protect our parks, including Center 50 Plus, which I didn't know it was a park until Mr. Romanek told me that, so thank you. And of course, to our libraries, making sure that they would remain protected and of course funded. And the highlight for me was definitely seeing this team being steady and just going straight ahead with the new appointment of City Manager, Madam Krista Nambury, so thank you, Madam City Manager, and of course with your team, everyone from Mr. City Attorney, and of course those are in the audience. Just having you in this place to steady us and to lead us through this past year was huge, so thank you. Because we all know that it's not an easy year. I also think about, in reflection of this year, I think about my mentor, my late mentor and good friend, Senator Peter Michael Coleman Courtney. Mr. Peter, as many of you may know, he was in this seat. This was the first seat that he won when he was a city councilor 51 years ago. He became a city councilor for Ward 5, and that was the beginning of his long-serving career here for the state of Oregon. And so reflection upon him and being in this seat, I'm reminded of a quote. And this is what he said in 2015. He said, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to make a decision. Don't be afraid to lose. Don't be afraid if your plan gets loose on you. Don't be afraid of the hand that's dealt you. Don't be afraid to love even when it hurts. Don't be afraid to say, I have done all that I can do. Don't be afraid to be you." And while I personally love to advocate for the lost, the least of these, the hurting, those in prisons, those who used to be in prison, the oppressed, the hungry, those that are living without a house, the single parents, the veterans, the gay and queer community, and of course, those beautiful brown and black communities. All of these communities I just listed, they are marginalized communities. Many of us know what a marginalized community is, but for those of us who not, they are groups. They are groups that are part of, or not a part of, the mainstream. Socially, economically, and culturally, and politically, their life is due to systemic discrimination, facing unequal power dynamics that limit across to resources, opportunities, fair treatment based on factors like race, gender, sexual orientation, disability, or socioeconomic status. Last week was a tough week for us as a team. We collectively made a decision, and we sent a message. We sent a very clear message that folks like Mr. Hedquist can serve here, but not there. When we do that, we also other people. Because those who have been previously incarcerated, those with a record, those with a past, are all people who need a second chance, a 17th chance, or a 52nd chance. What I do know is that everyone here, under the sound of my voice, everyone needs a second chance. And when I think about those individuals who have been previously incarcerated, it's not easy for them to navigate through a system that can be overwhelming, that can be difficult, and sometimes very painful to get through. And when you think about folks like Mr. Hedquist, a lot of people who are out of jail or out of prison, when they cannot find a job, a lot of them end up on the street. And when they end up on the street, some of them become addicted to substances. The same people who we try to reach every single day, last week, I think we did a good job, a poor job rather, in othering people. And when you visit places like underneath our bridges, or if you go down Fisher Road or even Hawthorne, you're going to see dozens and dozens of camps. And some of the people in those camps, some are veterans, some are folks that used to be in jail, some of them are even parents, but they're on the street. So here's the million-dollar question I ask my peers. The million-dollar question is this: who fights for them? When we do what we did last week, who advocates for them? Do we leave it up to the state? Do we leave it up to the county? Because we know that we spend millions of dollars on reentry services. Those reentry services, places like, I think of Director Jimmy Jones. I think of the work that he does. I think of a lot of folks in the community of faith. I think of Pastors Wade and Evelyn Harris. I think of folks who have places to help individuals who are struggling. And hear me clearly when I say this. I am not trying to give an excuse for Mr. Hedquist, nor am I trying to right his wrongs. But my question remains the same. Who fights for those particular marginalized communities? I'm a firm believer that we are those individuals that are in the trenches trying our best to fight for them. Last week, Councilor Vang made a statement, and she did something that we may not see a lot of people do. As an elected official, she apologized. How many of us know you don't always see politicians apologize? But she did. And I was very proud to be a part of this team watching the conversation between her and Councilor Gwynn. So here's my message. My message is this. Many of you know this, that I do see myself as a person of faith. And for those who also see themselves as a person of faith, I believe there's always room for forgiveness. I believe there is. At the core of when I read those basic instructions before leaving Earth, I'm a firm believer there is room for forgiveness. And I need to be the first to step in that line to do so. So for me, for those individuals that put a website together, although the damage has been done, I forgive you. For those individuals who could have stood up and denounced the website and you didn't, I forgive you also. Because what I do know for certain is this: we live in a community that is divided. And I think that people look to us to bring it together. So, as we get ready to start year 2, I humbly step in this position again. I humbly lean on my colleagues. I look to our leaders on the staff, city manager, and of course I will continue to offer support and respect to Madam Mayor and of course those that are sitting here with us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anyone else? Councillor Brown, I would like to respond to your comments in a certain way, and that is from experience as an employer. Close to the same time that Mr. Hedquist was released, the governor was releasing quite a number of people, actually. And one of those people was convicted of murder and sentenced to life because she drove the car away from the scene. She served 22 years, and the governor saw to it to give her another chance. But there was no fanfare for her. There was no job waiting for her in the Capitol building. She came to work for a little Italian restaurant in Northeast Salem, and she did her best. And that little business did everything it could for her, and it wasn't enough. And she spent time homeless, living out of her car, staying at the navigation center for a time, because not enough came around her when she was released. We did the best we could. Mr. Hedquist's crime, from where I sit, was next level. And I think this council did the best we could with the information that we had, and I do believe we made the right decision. So I agree, here's to another great year. I doubt, I hope, the challenges will be less. Councillor Nordyke, I want to piggyback on your comments about the chamber. We benefit a great deal from the Chamber of Commerce and from the businesses that are members. I know when my husband and I bought that restaurant almost 9 years ago, I didn't have restaurant business experience. I had a lifetime of experience in dining out, and that's it. I knew what I liked in terms of service, food quality, and cleanliness, and I could pour myself into that. The Chamber of Commerce wrapped themselves around me, and the network began to educate me on what it meant to run a business and to be genuinely good at it. So without their help, I'm not sure where we would be, perhaps out of business, but I'm grateful forever. So thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. Anyone else, any comments? All right, we're moving on then to, we have no proclamations. We have no presentations. We do not have anybody signed up under public comment under item 2 for agenda items. We do have 7 people signed up for item 8. Is there any objection to council to having these people come forward under item 2 rather than waiting to the end of the meeting? Seeing no objections, we're going to go ahead with public comment. I will read 2 names at a time. When your name is called, you'll come forward. Step up to the podium, hit the button to make the green light turn on. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and when your time is up, it's over. So please be good about that, and I won't have to interrupt you. So, calling Mila Moore and Victor Hernandez Lopez. Mila, if you would, announce your name and your ward or your address for the record.
Hello, City Council. My name is Mila Moore, and I live in Ward 4. I am 15 years old, and I am a sophomore in high school. I've been working for the past 7 months at an ice cream shop downtown. This is my first job, and I enjoy everything about it, excited for its location and the safety risks that come with that. My parents also work downtown, so I spend a lot of time there. While I am there, whether I'm working or not, I have to be constantly worried about my safety. People often refer to the homeless crisis downtown or the drug crisis, but I feel we should be focused on the safety crisis. People feeling safe to work, shop, and dine downtown needs to be the priority if we want our city and businesses to thrive. We need to bring back the downtown response team. We need either security or police officers there all the time. Currently at my job, if my coworkers and I need help, by the time the help arrives, the issue has already resolved itself, whether that be in a good or a bad way. If we had a police team downtown on the streets all the time, they would deter the harassment and safety concerns, so they would likely not develop into a problem, but would also be close by when needed. I've had customers tell me that they're worried for my safety. I've had people offer to give me their pepper spray, and I've had customers tell me that we need a downtown response team. I've witnessed a teen pay a homeless person $2 to inject inject drugs into his vein on the sidewalk. I had people wander in and say concerning things and others who stare at me through my windows while I'm closing at night, and I'm terrified that they're going to follow me out to my car or recognize me as I'm downtown on my own time. As a teenager, I hear so many of my friends and peers talking about how they aren't allowed or are too scared to go there because of the safety issues. If we want to have a thriving downtown community, we need to support our stores and small businesses, which means we need to prioritize the safety of their customers and our citizens. After all the time I've spent downtown, I know which areas to avoid, which sides of the street I should walk on, how far I should go, and I'm always on the lookout for people or situations that could jeopardize my safety. The problem is people who don't spend that time don't know these things, so they just stay away. We shouldn't have to avoid walking on a certain side of the street. Since when did that become an acceptable, normal, and okay thing to do? Is that really what you want? Do you want people and youth like me to stop working or shopping downtown? Do you want small businesses to shut down? If you care about the people and the economy of Salem, a downtown response team really is needed, and it's needed now. We cannot wait until the homeless crisis is solved. We cannot wait until the drug crisis is solved. By that time, the people of this city will have moved on, and downtown will not be somewhere they are willing to go. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you will take this into consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Victor Hernandez Lopez and Philip Devon.
Hi, my name is Victor Hernandez. I have very bad experience. I had a small business. Last weekend, Wednesday, I've stopped in and cleaned one of those buildings for like 3 months ago. I know a lot of people, so every week I was talking to the people, and he understand. So he leave everything. He's talk and talk. And last weekend, I had 3 people, each in one corner, the north and the south. To the south people, to the north, he's moving, and one in the other corner to the south, I'm moving one little camping tent. And I have a grocery car, and I had tied up, and I move it one more time. So it's time to leave, and I will clean it up. And he contests, he said, get out of here, leave me alone. I said, no, you need to go. I said, no, I don't go. And I pushed the car. When I turn around, he hit me one time to my whole body. That's one here. That's the drain line. And I have one more here. So I had like 3. So it's not acceptable, those people in the street. I think the best is start eliminating the people or put in the jail. That's not for the walking on the streets and kill people. So I'm the lucky. All the doctors and the hospitals say you're the lucky. You have a life now. Just me. But I don't know how many people more. So, and I have 4 employments. And I'm worried for my people. Again, it's a small business. It's not a big company. It's my 2nd year in the business. So the last year, I was staying the same. But all my customers, he called me for help for those guys.
Victor, thank you for your testimony. For just a bit of context, Victor was stabbed by a person on the streets near the Rite Aid. And I understand you were just released from the hospital. Thank you for your strength and for being here tonight. I'd like to call Philip Devon and Kathleen Treppa. Please hit the button there on the box till the light green comes on. There you go.
All right. Good evening, City Council. First off, I'd like to apologize to the people of Salem for being difficult and not understanding your homeless program. With that said, I don't understand how the city can allow senior citizens in their 70s to be homeless and sleeping on the streets. I'm not understanding how these people aren't qualifying for housing programs or Social Security to where they can afford their own places to live. And it seems like there's a lot of homeless camps around the city, and it seems like that they get moved around and the city goes in and cleans up their trash. And just the homeless people move, and they move from one camp to another camp down the street, and then they just come back, and it just seems like a shell game, just moving back and forth. But what I don't see is people, actually agencies out teaching people how to be like minimalists or cutting down their habits, like drinking and smoking, and how to stop these habits, and to where they can improve their lives and want to better their lives. And I don't know, it seems like there needs to be more of that push for the agencies, for there to be more of the push of people teaching homeless people how to function better, how to cut their expensive habits, and how to be, I guess, more controlled, more not needing to go to the mental hospitals, not how to have that self-control of how to meditate and function in the communities. And I don't know, that is where I feel like there needs to be more push for mental health and agencies out in the communities, more people going out and talking to homeless people and figuring out how to push for them to want to better their lives and cutting their addictions and I guess just moving on with their lives. And that is all. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for your testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Kathleen Treppa and Josias.
Thank you very much. Kathleen Treppa, Ward 7. On October 27th, 2024, the City Council heard a presentation by staff about the city's procurement process. The city manager had already left the meeting for this item, which was listed as an informational item only. During the council discussion, Councilor Matthews indicated that he had been working directly with the CFO to flush out a local preference procurement program. He moved to have the council direct staff to proceed with the pilot program, which council approved. I believe it was on an 8-1 vote. There was no documentation provided on the program, and the pilot program was not listed on the agenda. While some might consider government regulations to be a nuisance and to get in the way of good work, while certainly not perfect, regulations exist for a reason. An article in the Statesman Journal on April 12, 2024 is a prime example. It reported on then-Councilor Hoy's repeated questioning of staff's decision to switch a tire contract from a local provider to a vendor who was awarded a state contract through competitive bidding process. At the time, the value of that contract was potentially upwards of $300,000. Piggybacking on state bids saves staff time, and it ensures competitive pricing, a positive for constrained budgets and limited staff resources. I mean, that's our job, right, to spend our public dollars efficiently and effectively. Please note, I fully support the concept of a local preference procurement program, and I've worked for agencies that provided a 5% cost differential for local vendors. However, there is no documentation for what Salem's pilot program entails, and the most direct way to affect influence is to help send work to people who will ultimately then vote for you or provide financial support, whether that's an intentional outcome or unintentional outcome. There's an influence that comes with steering work and public dollars that way. That's why the regulations exist. Conflict of interest laws are broader than just whether or not an elected official has a personal financial gain or not, which is every counselor should be fully aware of. That's why the council censured 2 councilors, now Mayor Hoy, for voting on a land use project for a developer that had contributed to their campaigns. Quite frankly, those 2 examples could have been investigations by the Ethics Commission. So I know that the staff here is overworked and under-resourced. However, I feel very strongly about good governance and transparency. That was not an agendized item. I strongly urge that this pilot program come back at a future meeting, either with the appropriate documentation or so council can direct staff to put the pilot program on hold until staff is ready to bring the discussion forward at a public meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's is it Jonas or Josias? I'm having trouble reading the handwriting. Come on down and please state your name, your address, or your ward for the record.
It's pronounced Jonas. My name's Jonas, unincorporated Salem. There's so much I want to say, but I only have 3 minutes, so I'll have to edit myself and be quick. ICE still roams our streets like drunk teenagers during Jim Crow. Children have been detained by DHS are missing. Fathers and mothers are being assaulted while in custody. And in the case of Randall Gamboa Esquivel, deported while in a vegetative state only to die in Costa Rica while his family had no idea where he was. His children lost their father, murdered by agents with only 47 days of training. ICE has shot at least 3 people as of me writing this. In fact, the White House shared a picture on Twitter celebrating what I can only assume is an ICE agent shooting a man point blank in the face with a chemical weapon. 2 of those people shot were in Portland. How soon until the shootings start in Salem? And if they start happening here, what is SPD going to do? Send a mass tax undermining the council with no consequences? Explain how, once again, their hands are tied by the rules at play? I thought you're the council. Can't you make new rules and procedures? And the answer is yes. Just last week, you started the process to create new procedures for committee members. Why can't you do something similar to, at the very least, enforce our city traffic laws? And this was at an impromptu. While waiting for this meeting to start, I read breaking news that ICE is detaining U.S. citizens in Minneapolis now. Allegedly, the agent told her, quote, "You got to stop obstructing us. That's why that lesbian bitch is dead." Continuing to do nothing to protect 20% of Salem's residents, just so that it won't get worse, is akin to passing and enforcing the Fugitive Slave Act to save the Union. Doing nothing to address the situation 1 in 5 Salem residents are susceptible to is akin to condoning the violence committed against us. As Bishop Desmond Tutu, anti-apartheid activist in South Africa, said, if you are neutral in the situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Lastly, I would like to address Dr. Brown and Councillor Vang directly. The only thing you did wrong last week was be right too early. As someone who's also been at the receiving end of a hate campaign, what happened to you was unfair. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Scotty Nowning and Linnell Wilcox.
Scotty Nowning, Ward 7. Good evening. I just wanted to address the council about some things I heard last week on during the hearing about Kyle Hedquist. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you. I can't believe you volunteered to do this job unpaid. It's a second full-time job. I've communicated with many of you about many issues over the years, and I understand how many different issues you work on. You have to be an expert in 1,000 different things, which is just really not possible. Some of the concerning things I heard last week was that the Salem Police Employees Union, I'm also representing the Salem Police Employees Union tonight as their president, that the Salem Police Employees Union would condone or incite threats against members of City Council. Nothing could be further from the truth. I have dedicated my life to be a police officer. I'm a detective in the Special Victims Unit. The whole issue that the police department had with this individual was his violent history. 100% anti-violence is what we stand for. There's just no place for it, especially in this. To clarify how we got there, when I heard the vote was coming up and his criminal history, Mr. Hedquist's criminal history had been known now, I didn't give it two thoughts. I just figured now that we know what his criminal history is, he'll be voted, or he won't be reappointed. When that didn't happen, clearly members of the police department that I represent came to me and were extremely concerned. There has to be a trust in oversight, not only from the community, but from our officers as well. I couldn't have told you one person on the CPRB prior to this. I didn't think it was our position as the union to meddle in that process. It was a civilian oversight. And so I didn't know anything about anyone on there. Since I've learned there's defense attorneys on there, other folks from the community, I have no problem with it. Mr. Hedquist's criminal history is just too far. So what I did on December 11th is I sent an email to each counselor. It is the second time in 8 years I've addressed the entire council. The first time was asking to consider buying body cameras for our officers to help with transparency and oversight. This is the second time I've reached out. 4 counselors didn't even bother to reply to my email. I did a public records request to make sure everyone got it. I know they got it. I know everyone got the email because everyone either forwarded it to their personal email or forwarded it to the media or did something else with it. So after 8 days, then we enlisted a public relations company to do a text campaign to see if maybe reaching out to the constituents could get a reaction. So never in there was there anything about violence toward any council member. I do not condone that. If there are cases to be investigated, we would absolutely investigate it. To answer your question, Mr. Brown, what do you do when you call the police? You know we'll show up. We'll do the right thing. I stand by that. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Linnell Wilcox.
Hi, my name is Linnell Wilcox, and I live in Ward 1. I'm the program manager for Safe Sleep United, which is United Way's overnight low-barrier shelter for women and moms with kids. Our mission is to offer a warm, secure place for single women and women with kids to sleep safely. I would love to have a long conversation with each of you because there's a lot of misinformation happening as well as accurate information, but I'm concerned about the misinformation, and I'd love to have a conversation to kind of share what we see, what trends we're seeing, who we serve, who we can't serve, but there doesn't seem to be an avenue for that, so I thought I'd try to come to City Council meetings more often and share just bits of that in 3-minute snippets. So, who stays at shelters are topics I'd like to cover. Why are so many people on the streets even after we've invested so much money? Why are some people service resistant? They're probably not. Why don't people get the help they need? How many people are at Wallace Marine Park? Not 1,500, it's about 180 to 250 as the estimates. Who can't we serve and why? So starting with who did we serve, in 2024 we served 216 unduplicated individuals. That was 187 single women, 10 moms, 19 kids, and we also sheltered 31 dogs, 5 cats, 1 lizard, and 1 bunny. Out of the women we served, 60% are domestic violence survivors, and sometimes that's a catalyst for people to become homeless when you have the bravery to leave your abuser. Sometimes you're leaving with the shirt on your back and maybe your purse, and it's hard to get everything back and get recovery from some of the trauma you've been through. 25% were currently fleeing violence. Some of the trends we're seeing are that we only are serving about 12.5% of individuals who are 60 and older, but that's very deceptive. We're averaging about 30 calls a month from women who are age 60 or older, but we can't serve many of them. They have to be able to do activities of daily living independently, and that's often not possible. Many have disabilities and health issues that make it unfeasible for them to leave in the daytime, and we're an overnight shelter. So we spend a lot of time navigating people to memory care, assisted living, group homes, and seeing how can we help someone get to a safe place, even though we're getting over 30 calls a month from people we literally can't serve. Those are women who are on the streets until they get navigated to where they need to be. These are the people that you're seeing, as well as the people who might seem scary. And sometimes people are, when we're not familiar with mental illness, it might seem more scary than it is, and that does not negate the violence that some people are.
Thank you for your testimony. Okay. That concludes public comment. We're moving on to the consent calendar. Councillor Nishioka?
Yes, thank you. I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion and a second by Gwynn. Councillor, to your motion.
Thank you. The consent calendar consists of the 3.1A, December 8th, 2025 draft City Council minutes. Resolutions 3.2A, resolution updating council policy number C-9 for the capital improvement program. Forgive me while I'm turning the page. Action items 3.3A, Fairview Park Development Grant Agreement with Oregon Department of Administrative Services. 3.3B, Salem Police Department Domestic Violence Response Team Stop Violence Against Women Act grant application. 3.3C, Governance Assessment Recommendation for Boards and Commissions. And 3.3D, approve a request from North Santiam Watershed Council for City Council representation on the Mill Creek Waller Advisory Committee. And that completes the consent calendar.
All right, any questions? Seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Tigan.
Aye.
Councillor Nishioka. Aye. Councillor Matthews.
Aye.
Councillor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councillor Brown.
Aye.
Councillor Vang.
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Varney. Aye. Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to public hearings, item 4.A.
The Salem City Council will now conduct a public hearing to consider a city-initiated Class 2 vacation of redundant right-of-way in the vicinity of Landaggard Drive Northwest, north of Orchard Heights Road Northwest. The applicable criteria is SRC 255.065B6. Testimony must be directed toward the identified criteria or other criteria the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue prior to the close of the public hearing in person or in writing, or failure to provide statements or evidence with sufficient specificity to provide the parties and the City Council an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues related to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The hearing will begin with the staff presentation, followed by testimony from the following. And since the city is the applicant, there's not really a time limit there, but the applicable neighborhood associations are limited to 5 minutes per association, and other interested parties are limited to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. Hit that button right there so we can hear you. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. My name is Hayden Dettinger. I'm a transportation planner in the Public Works Department. I'd like to begin by entering the staff report into the record. So I'm here to discuss with you all today a city-initiated vacation in the vicinity of Landaggard Drive Northwest. For orientation purposes, the map that's in front of you all right now shows Landaggard Drive Northwest. It's just north of Orchard Heights Road, northwest in West Salem High School, and to the west of Dokes Ferry Road. This vacation is being pursued for two purposes. First, the right-of-way in this area was dedicated twice, once in 1951 to Polk County and then again in 1953 to Polk County. Second, a portion of this vacation is a condition of development for the Titan Hills development that will be occurring in this area. For further orientation, if you look at that map right there, you'll notice the Titan Hills development starts at that northwest corner of Dokes Ferry and Orchard Heights Road and extends northern along Dokes Ferry Road before extending to the west. I do also want you all to notice that property right there in the middle of the lot for the Titan Hills development. We'll be coming back to that in just a second. The next set of maps is two individual maps, one on the left, one on the right. The map on the left shows the area that will be vacated, while the map on the right shows the remaining right-of-way in Landaggard Drive. You'll notice that most of the north-south length will be vacated. That is the 1951 right-of-way dedication that will be vacated. However, the remaining dedication from 1953 will preserve the public right-of-way through the north-south bounds of Landaggard Drive Northwest. The one segment that will be fully vacated is that little deviation to the northeast that you're seeing at the top of the map. Zooming in on that area that will be fully vacated, referencing back to that lot I pointed out earlier, that lot is now in the top of this map. It's connected to Landaggard Drive through that blue rectangle right there. That is an existing access easement that will be preserved through this vacation. That segment in red is the area that will be vacated fully as a condition of the Titan Hills development. City staff recommends that you do approve this vacation of right-of-way in the vicinity of Landaggard Drive Northwest, and with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? We have no one signed up to testify. Yes, Councillor Tigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. So I just want to make sure that I understand what is leaving in terms of rights of way and then what's remaining in terms of this easement. So what does the right of way entail that is going to be vacated versus the easement that whoever I don't know, is that a pentagon shaped property? They have this 30 foot wide easement. They just get access. What's being lost in the right of way that's being vacated?
On that third map that's zoomed in to the specific red and blue rectangles, that red section is the right-of-way that will be vacated. That blue rectangle that extends to the residential property to the north and connects to Landaggard Drive on the east side, that is an existing easement that will be maintained through this vacation to provide access to the residential property.
That part I get. What goes on a right-of-way that doesn't go on an access easement, I guess is my question. Sorry, you turned your mic off.
The Titan Hills development that will take up the space throughout there will take over the entire tax lot surrounding this northern residential property. That tax lot kind of sits inside this broader tax lot. The existing right-of-way in the red square right here is the piece that has to be vacated for development of that tax lot. However, the only access to that northern residential property is this blue access easement right here. There's no alternate access to Dokes Ferry Road or anything along those lines. So this blue rectangle is, I hope this is answering the question, maintaining access to the residential property, but that's it.
Sorry, and I'm not sure that I actually care, but I'm just curious. How does it get its water? How does it get its sewer? Like where's there must be some other right-of-way that services this piece of property.
Yeah, so.
Keeps going on.
Is it? Okay, sorry, I thought it was hold to talk. It's touch to talk. Property is serviced by utility lines that run north-south along Landaggard. They don't, however, cut across at this point to service the property. They continue northern and then connect on both the north and east side of the property that's not shown in these maps. But this easement right here does not have any utility needs in it.
I promise I'm going to stretch this meeting out just one question longer. Is there anything on that property?
There is a residential there's a residence on that property. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Hayden, thanks for the presentation. So on that right-of-way, the neighbors that are there, you've already met with those neighbors?
We've posted all of the appropriate notice for this. The neighbors are well aware that this vacation is proceeding.
Have you got any feedback from them?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm looking back over my shoulder for my the transportation planning manager, who might be on the other side. Oh, yeah. Not that I'm aware of. No pushback from the neighbors regarding this vacation.
And what's our budget for this?
There is no associated budget for the vacation, as far as I understand.
Oh, so it's free?
Yeah, we're doing it.
Oh, free labor? Surprising. I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Gwynn, and then Councillor Varney. Councilor Varney, go right ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to ask, so are there any changes? You mentioned the easement still exists there. And is that true for the part of the easement that's within the vacated piece as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Quinn.
So that easement, does it service any portion of the new Titan Hills development, or is that easement dedicated just to this property?
It's access to this property. I'd have to review the plans for the Titan Hill development itself regarding access to their properties, but this specific access easement is to access that residential property to the north.
And that property only?
Correct.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Matthews.
So am I right in my thinking that all we're really doing is just kind of fixing a mistake a little bit, like that we kind of double easement on these, and so we're just taking one of those away, leaving one?
That's the first big half of it, and the second half is just this little red sliver that we're looking at right here for the vacation, but the majority of it, that's correct, is just removing the duplicative right-of-way.
Okay.
Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Hayden, for the presentation. I know that we have spoken, it must be about the Titan Hills and this street, and I just want to make sure, is this all part of that project? And also, again, I'm hoping that I get maybe a better answer that I think Councilor Tigan was trying to ask you. We're not losing anything in this vacation in the sense that there isn't any sewer access, there aren't any pipes or anything that we might need to get to at some point someday.
No, we've been in contact with all city departments regarding a necessary easement of this area, and all city departments are satisfied, or all relevant city departments are satisfied with this vacation without needing further easement. And as to speaking to losing right-of-way, to Councilor Matthews' comment, we're mostly just addressing the duplicative right-of-way. The only piece that will be lost is the, if you're looking at this map, the red slivers outside of the blue easement.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, you had me at vacation, but not this kind. And I think in the interest of just education, a vacation, correct me if I'm wrong, is a formal process where a government agency legally abandons its public interest in a portion of a road, alley, or easement. Is that correct? Okay, good to know. Anyone else?
Not the kind of vacation I want to take.
Yeah, me neither. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to close the hearing. Councilor Varney to the motion.
Thank you. I move that we approve the vacation of right-of-way in the vicinity of Landaggard Drive Northwest as described in Resolution 2025-32.
Second.
We have a motion by Varney and a second by Gwynn. Councilor, to your motion?
I don't have anything else to add.
Nothing further. Anyone else? All right. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Vang.
Aye.
Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. We're moving on to special orders of business, and we have a report from the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Hoffert.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Hoy, members of City Council, City Manager Namburi, and City staff professionals. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. My name is Tom Hoffert. I have the opportunity to serve as CEO of the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce. Our organization is located within Ward 1, and I personally reside in Ward 1. At the Salem Chamber, we believe in helping businesses prosper so our entire community may thrive. Small business, two words that are often bandied about, but frequently without contextual definition. Tonight, I would like to begin by reframing the context to bring clarity and purpose to those two words as it relates to your important work here in Salem. Small business is our community's economic engine. It provides fuel to power our hopes, dreams, and the collective economic and social health of this place we all call home. Data provided by the Small Business Administration, shows that over 99% of businesses within Oregon are small businesses and employ the majority of our workers. Think about that for a moment. 99% of businesses in our state qualify as small businesses. As we strive to thrive, consider what we could collectively do if we devoted just 10% of our focus and efforts on that 99% that helps shape the future of our economy and our community. I want to be clear from the outset. We are not here because Salem is in crisis. We're here because the economic environment has changed, and the decisions we make now will shape whether we stay on solid footing or find ourselves dealing with challenges other communities are now working to correct. For a long time in Oregon, growth felt inevitable. People moved here, businesses followed, opportunities followed. And the central policy question was how to manage growth without losing what makes our communities uniquely special. In 2004, Oregon's overall tax burden was ranked 42nd in the nation. That era has changed. Today, Oregon is ranked 17th in overall tax burden, making us near the top of the highest tax burden states across America. To understand why these choices matter so much right now, we have to be honest about the economic environment we're operating in. Across the country, population growth has slowed significantly, birth rates are down, and our population is aging. National forecasters now project that within the next decade, natural population growth, births minus deaths, will turn to the negative. This means future growth depends almost entirely on attracting and retaining people in our communities. As the U.S. Census points out, Oregon is already there. And when growth slows within a state, the consequences aren't abstract. A smaller workforce makes hiring more challenging, slower population growth weakens local spending, and public services become harder to fund and often face economic insecurity. Simply stated, the very tax base we are depending on is no longer growing side by side with the cost of municipal services. Those statewide trends might sound abstract until you look at how they play out for small businesses on the ground. Small businesses operate on thin margins. We're more sensitive to cost increase, delays, and uncertainties than large corporations. When policies add friction, whether through new taxes, new fees, slow permitting, small businesses feel it first. And in a slow growth environment, those pressures compound even faster. The annual CNBC Top States for Business Ranking 2025 shared insight on why Oregon is a slow growth environment. Oregon was ranked in the bottom 10 for business friendliness, the cost of doing business, and overall state economic health. And we don't have to guess why these pressures stack up over time. We can already see it happening in other Oregon communities. In places where layers of well-intended policies, higher local taxes, increased regulatory complexity, and slower permitting collides with a tougher economic environment, the results have not been in resiliency. It's been actually completely the opposite, as our metro market to the north will assure you. It's resulted in stalled investment, fewer projects moving forward, and increased strain on Main Street and downtown businesses. We need to remember that investment capital is mobile. Businesses can choose to move to a neighboring county or even across state lines. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of that occur over the last few years. It is vital that we keep the Salem keep Salem as an attractive and safe place to operate a business so we can actually become a premier location for businesses and communities to grow. The key lesson here isn't blame, it's timing. Once momentum is lost, recovery takes years, not months. Prevention is much easier than correction. The reason that prevention is easier than correction is because our city needs to avoid what economists call the doom loop, a self-perpetuating cycle where taxes, fees, and regulations all stack up upon each other, ultimately pushing businesses to exit our community, either because they go out of business altogether or because they make an economically strategic decision to relocate to another city, relocate out of Marion and Polk counties, or even an entire region or the state itself. And with them departs all the employees as well. When that happens, the community's quality of life decreases, and cities consider raising taxes to stabilize the diminished public dollars slated for municipal services, which in turn causes more businesses and taxpayers to leave, and the cycle of community deterioration to doom loop as it continues. What's important to say here is that this concern isn't coming simply from small business owners and their employees, or one specific industry, or one sector. It's from across all sides of the aisle. Even Governor Tina Kotek, a progressive Democrat, has urged local governments to step back when tax structures, fees, and program designs and processes are creating unintended economic strain. The governor has been clear that restraint matters when economic conditions are tight, and that fixing problems later is harder and inevitably more costly than avoiding them in the first place. That's not ideological, that's responsible governance. The governor sees what is happening across the state to small businesses and has validated what has happened to Oregon's economy without constructive intervention. Oregon's inflation rate is above the national average. Oregon's unemployment rate also stands at 5.2%, the highest in almost 5 years. Both data points have a disproportionate effect on our small businesses. And more recently, Governor Kotek has unveiled her new prosperity roadmap that recognizes the headwinds our businesses are facing and outlines strategies to help grow our state's economy in 2026 and beyond. Specifically, the roadmap outlines 3 main goals: accelerate Oregon's economic growth with a near-term target of increasing GDP from 1.7% to 2.2%, which those increases to the general fund resources would increase our budget by $4 billion in the 29-31 biennium. Create more living wage jobs by establishing an education to employment pipeline for emerging industries. And finally, retain and grow Oregon businesses by expanding access to capital, technical assistance, infrastructure, while reducing barriers to expansion. This initiative was only just released in the holidays, and many are still familiarizing themselves with it. However, the message from the governor's office is crystal clear. Long-term prosperity won't happen by chance. It requires deliberate choices, a willingness to show restraint where appropriate, and a government that helps rather than hinders. That tells us something important. Restraint and intentionality are no longer fringe terms. They are now central to how the state is thinking about economic leadership. All of this brings us back to Salem and why the decisions made by our city elected officials matter so much to us in the small business community. Salem is not facing the same levels of market stress as some other communities. We are incredibly fortunate for that. That is not to say there are not industries under serious pressure right now, however. It is a bit of good news that we are not facing what some cities are facing. And it shows that we have room to make smart decisions now that can protect our workforce going forward. We can choose to align policy with the state's direction and with the economic reality we're all operating in. With that in mind, there are 3 things local government can focus on now that will make a real difference for small businesses and families in this community. First, do no harm. In slow growth environments, new taxes, new fees, and higher costs of doing business matter more than they used to. This includes funding initiatives such as business license fees, business operating fees, the rollout of the newly released fire inspection schedule with its costly correction requirements. Our request here is simple. Avoid policies you will wish to that will require rollback later in the future. Second, focus on making government work better. Permitting timelines, predictability, and clarity are economic development tools, particularly for small businesses. But policies alone won't foster results without a commitment by those implementing those policies to embrace the goal of achieving common sense results for Salem business owners. Streamlining processes isn't about cutting corners at all. It's about respecting the timeline of those that you're serving, their hard-earned resources placed in the marketplace, and their need for agreeable outcomes. Third, keep Salem safe, clean, and welcoming for commerce. Customers always have a choice, and if shopping locally feels uncomfortable or unsafe, an alternative is just one click away. Reiterating our organization's requests from last October, we ask that the city ceases the use of the downtown parking assessment on businesses following the implementation of paid parking across our downtown. We ask that businesses be reimbursed for the dollars that they have paid into the assessment back to the time when the meters were put into place. Personally, I was incredibly encouraged to hear from City Manager Namburi that the city staff are already working on such a proposal and intended to bring it to council later this month. Kudos, Madam. And that brings us to one very specific request, one that puts do no harm principle into practice. As a practical expression of your commitment to do no harm, we're asking council to make a clear commitment that now is not the time to raise any taxes or fees on Salem's small business community. This commitment sends a powerful signal to local small business owners and employees who are truly our community's economic impact engine, that Salem's elected officials and municipal employees understand the moment we are currently in and are choosing stability and restraint over reaction. This is not suggesting government doesn't need resources. We have consistently assisted you in reaching your budgetary needs through support of the last 2 bond and levy measures. But because we're in a slow growth environment, stability itself is a form of economic support. The reason we're asking for this commitment is foundational to growing long-term economic stability. This is not a goal simply of the Salem Chamber, but a goal the entire community can wrap their arms around, knowing public services benefit from economic stability. The stronger the economy in Salem, the more dollars flow into this government for livability, safety, and amenities valued by so many of our residents. Many of our systems and industries were built for different times, a time when growth and customer base were merely assumed and margins a little bit wider. The future does not look like the past. If we fail to adapt our tendencies to tax and fee, we risk drifting into stagnation and scarcity. But that outcome is not inevitable. We can choose restraint over reaction, coordination over complexity, and intentional growth over economic retreat. Our message tonight is simple. Let's learn from others who have been forced to correct their local policy decisions and choose a better path for Salem's future economy right now. Our Salem small businesses are counting on you, and we are proud to partner with you each step of the way.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffert. Are you up for questions?
Certainly. I have also included a white paper for each of you that gives a summary of some of the key points. I also have supporting documentation for all of our information that we'd be happy to turn over to our City Attorney Atchison. And we have made copies. We felt for as many people would be interested in the crowd. Jameson Gideon has additional copies if you did not receive one, and we'd, of course, open that up for the whole public to view. And I'd be happy to take any questions or comments from council.
Jameson, could we have a copy of that up here? Do you have them with you?
Yes, you have them on.
Oh,
to my understanding, you have those already, Mayor.
I apologize. I thought it was in addition. Yep. Yeah, Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, CEO Hoffert, for being here tonight. It's great to see you again. I want to kind of first reflect on some of the testimony we heard earlier tonight and then follow up with a question for you. We heard from Mina, I think is your name. Thank you so much for having the courage. It's not many 15-year-olds who are willing to come down to council, so thank you for that. I wasn't much older than you when I worked downtown retail in the city of Salem. I worked at Ranch Records, a local small business, and I was in charge of making sure our store looked clean. We had a lot of glass counters that we kept our merchandise under, and of course, people would come in and put their paws all over it, so I was constantly cleaning the glass, providing good service as best I could, and really learning the value of a dollar. So I'm glad to see that some kids still do after-school jobs. I think that's really important. So my question is, when I think of folks like Mina and others who are starting to look at the workforce, how can we work together, the city of Salem, how can the city of Salem work together with the business community to really grow the next generation of young entrepreneurs, folks who want to start a business in Salem? What can we do to help prepare our workforce for making a career or making a business in the city of Salem?
I think it would be a conversation amongst council. It is the city of Salem responsible for developing our future workforce, or would that be more appropriate for our public schools and our private schools? We are incredibly intentional as an organization under our foundation, the McLaren Leadership Foundation. We have, as you have mentioned, are participating in Councilor Nordyke, our Leadership Salem course, but equally we have our Youth Leadership Project cohort. That coincides and walks directly beside the full Leadership Salem cohort. So we as an organization do find appropriateness in helping sculpt our future workforce. In addition, we have a strategic partnership with CTEC as an organization, and we actually have 3 employees who spend large parts of their day in the CTEC world, assisting industry to come into the schools and work with CTEC specifically in their 10 programs to develop future talent. And as I noted earlier, the governor's focus on emerging industries, that is exactly what CTEC is focused on. I don't know whether it is appropriate for the city of Salem to be engaging in workforce development. That is a conversation for all of you to have, and you're very bright minds, and you might see a place. But it does take me back to, I was Mina's age when I first joined the city of Salem's Salem Youth Commission. And although it was not business focused, it was on the leadership of Jan Calvert, a long-term city employee, who really exposed me to a few things. And one of the things that group looked at was local Salem businesses, how they grew through generations and the like. I myself am the grandson of 2 former Salem business owners. Both have passed, and I miss my grandfathers and grandparents very much. But I think there is ways that the city can sprinkle in the exposure to the business community, but I would certainly defer to you folks from a philosophy standpoint if the city has the abilities to get in the future of workforce development. I think one thing that I can concretely say is the more the city is able to unburden the things and the issues that small businesses are facing, the more the small businesses are going to be able to lean into their workforce and more resources they would certainly have to invest in future resources.
Councillor Nishioka.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Hoffert, for being here and all of the audience that's here in support. In your presentation, you mentioned that one of the things that needs to be done is reducing barriers to expansion. I'm wondering if you can elaborate a little bit more, kind of help me understand what that is speaking to.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of ways that I could answer it. I'd rather use just a couple concrete, real-time things. We have dilapidated buildings throughout our city, and we have various codes for safety and the like. They often come with a lot of permitting and the necessities to go through processes within the city. It is a fairly constant complaint I get, Madam President, that the lag time of the city turning around permits and then permitting being approved and then having to come back and having a change by the city and the like. I don't really want to necessarily point any fingers at departments and the like. That's not certainly how our organization would operate. But we'd like to be reflective that every time businesses, lawyers have to get involved, and accountants, those are true dollars that are exchanging. And you yourself as a business owner certainly know that, Madam President. I think when we look at like buildings like the J.C. Penney's property, we have spoken to the owners, and the workings of the city was a major impact on why they weren't able to unfold a business plan to get that property back onto the tax roll, back onto tax rolls that are going to have growth within them, meaning multiple taxpayers in them, expansion, employees, and the like. So I think it's kind of a moment of inflection for the city to say, hey, there are things we could be doing internally to really improve and speed up processes that are going to allow expansion of business and small business to occur in a much more meaningful and rapid pace. Pace of play is super important for businesses. And once dollars are put down on a property, if we are lagged through permitting, sign processes and the like, it's one more day we're not open and trying to bring in revenue. There's not a person in the city, if you understood what business growth does, that I don't think I could convince. Small businesses are just wonderful for communities, but they rely on the fact that economic dollars are turning and they're open for business. A closed business is not bringing in revenue. And very, very few of our businesses located in Salem, outside of some of the cottage industries at home, are doing massive levels of online commerce. So we need businesses open. We need permitting signage to go through seamlessly, or at least fairly rapidly and at a reasonable cost. And I think that'd be extremely helpful if we could get a little bit of oomph going within those processes.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. I'm also wondering, and something that I keep trying to figure out who and how we might help, is when businesses run into situations where they're struggling, does the chamber have opportunities for someone that can consult them on strategies, or maybe they need to relook at what they're doing and how they might be able to adjust to improve that?
Wow, I couldn't have asked for a better question. Thank you. First of all, categorically, yes. We have one of the most engaged past presidents network. That is, our organization is a 24-person volunteer board of directors, but one person each year for one fiscal year gets to serve as that organization's president. They gather every 2 months to come take the pulse of the business community, and we use them a little bit. Do you remember the organization called SCORE? They were essentially retired individuals who would go out and help and mentor businesses in times of challenge. Our past presidents do an absolutely incredible job of engaging their community. We have many retirees within our organization that volunteer their time. And we have an incredible strategic partnership with somebody that would make a lot of sense. We work with Chemeketa Center for Business and Industry firsthand. We also have our LEAD Small Business Series, which is a development series to help businesses know the complexity based on their industry. And we really tackle things like, you know, how do you set up your business the first time? So from entry level to then the complexities of funding, banking, how to garner additional capital and the like. So yes, we're very proud to connect with our businesses in time of challenge, but I put a little asterisk by this. When a business is on its final leg, we won't always know that, and they won't always tell you. How often have our counselors been shocked to hear, oh, they shut down? Oftentimes we do not hear or receive all the indicators of just what stage of health a business is at. So you can offer a multitude of programmings to assist and the like, but sometimes a business has just gone to a point where it is too far and a strategic decision needs to be made to shut down. So we are fighting not just so businesses stay and remain healthy, we're also fighting for a local environment where businesses want to start up to keep the regenerative growth of business healthy here in Salem.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Mr. CEO, great presentation, thank you. So you mentioned earlier about permitting, getting the permits. And I know you don't want to like point the finger or anything, but would you say that's the area to where business owners need greater intervention or no?
I'll choose to strategically answer it this way, Dr. Brown. There are two things when spoken about the city of Salem that I hear categorically: permitting and sign codes.
Okay, so having said that, so thank you. And the reason I say that, and we're not pointing fingers, but Northeast Salem, I know there are quite a few business owners that are part of the chamber, and there are some that are not. And one of the things that I'm struggling with is trying to get more business owners to come your way. And we can probably have a one-on-one with this, but that's a struggle for me. A struggle is like, okay, how do I get more business owners to be a part of the chamber? And I know there are some barriers that are there.
When you say barriers, help me understand, barriers to entry to the Salem Chamber?
I think one of the barriers, so like, I'll give an example. I was with a business owner this past weekend, and they're off of Lancaster. And one of their concerns is they have people that are right outside their business that deal and do drugs. And I've shared this with Salem PD. And one of their fears would be, well, how do I get to be a part of the chamber because I'm so busy, fixated on just trying to keep my employees safe. And so one of their barriers is like, how do we be a part of it, but there's too much here to watch, there's too much to take care of. Are there any ways that we can kind of like help mediate that?
Yeah, and for one thing, I want to be extremely clear. You don't have to be a member to come speak to us and our organization about business. In fact, while we push membership, because it is how we are funded, we're not receiving city and state dollars, we work with businesses across the city on any issue they're facing, and very rarely will I even bring up membership until I have a sense that there's financially on ground to look at a $500 annual investment. We are happy to provide that business owner not only access to the resources we have, we are working, it's very aspirational work. I get to go to work every day, Dr. Brown, and help build the strength of a small business community. That is not meaning only members get Tom's efforts or our board's efforts. There are many members that come along because they appreciate what we do, but we are serving many, many businesses that have never written our organization a check because it is the right thing to do for small businesses. One thing I would say on the time, and we all have such a challenge with time and access to things. Our organization has over 120 different gatherings, programs, events a year. When you take out weekends, basically every day, certainly every day and a half, you could be doing something to network, learn, share input. A lot of what we do is education. You could do it nearly every day if you wanted to at the Salem Chamber, and almost all of our content, to be relevant, is recorded and put out onto YouTube channels, social media. You do not need to be a member to access any of that information, and quite honestly, we're honored to share it. Some of my favorite things are people who aren't a member of the Chamber and they have an encounter with us or meet a couple people and they get connected, and lo and behold, 3-4 months down the line, my membership manager jumps up and goes, guess who decided to join us? We'd love it if all Salem businesses were Chamber members, but it is not the word. We don't say we are only serving Salem Chamber members. That board of directors, many of you are here tonight, know exactly who they're serving, and it's the entire Salem business community, because we need to build a resilient and stable economy. So the city is stable, county is stable, and the state has a great place, and businesses want to come here to operate and raise a family.
Councillor Teigen, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple questions. Thank you, Mr. Hoffert, as always. Glad to see a Ward 1 resident right here up at the podium. I guess I didn't prep anyone for this question. I'm curious with the amount of the difference in the tax structure and things like that in the metro area. You mentioned the area to the north. Are we seeing a migration of business from the Portland area into Salem, colloquially or by the data?
Yeah, that is a great question. One thing I will say is yes, we have received a few that have shown interest and some that have located, but I will say this, Councillor Teigen, they are incredibly careful to not be loud about that, because remember the message you're sending in your personal branding if you've relocated yourself out of a market. I'm willing to leave when things are tough. Oftentimes, businesses can sometimes be criticized, like, why isn't every business here demanding, with ICE operators or what? If you get put in one box and you lose a whole portion of your support base. We are incredibly proud. The Salem Chamber, we say we have from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump and even farther and everywhere in between. We are a non-political affiliation organization. What we stand for is the common sense center that we can all agree to. Small businesses is healthy for this community right here in Salem. So I have been made aware of businesses that have relocated. They are not wishing to be on the cover of the Statesman or the Salem Business Journal or the Salem Reporter, but there has been some migration out of that market. The number one area that I've been told the most they've relocated to is currently in the Wilsonville area, but we certainly have a few that have relocated down to Salem. We accept them. But I am very sensitive to the employees who are moving kids out of schools and the communities that no longer get to benefit from that business sharing their tax base right in that community.
You accept them, but do you recruit them? I mean,
that's a great question.
Anyone ask?
The Salem Chamber, I will only speak for the Salem Chamber. The Salem Chamber has not actively recruited businesses out of our large metro partner to the north.
Okay, thank you. Another one. So this may be the harder question, and I appreciate you being brave enough to stand up there. I'm curious about your three things that you've asked for. First, do no harm. I think I understand that. The second one about making government work better, focusing on efficiency and stability. And then the third one that you brought up, safe, clean, and welcoming Salem. We've been focusing on that for the last year and have made investments in order to see if we can push the needle on safe and clean and welcoming. And we have some pilot projects going. We know they take more resources to run. We've been asked for resources even here tonight at this meeting. Our I think some of the things that the police chief has brought to us include 2 of the community policing units, which is about 8 full-time FTE police officers and the like. So if we wanted to focus on this priority of a safe, clean, and welcoming Salem, but know that we don't have the stable base of resources in order to expand those services, circle that square for me. How do we get there?
Well, I don't think you and I would be off on this, Councillor Tagan. I actually think by allowing businesses to thrive and having less placed on them, you're going to bring in additional tax base because the businesses are going to be earning more, their employees are going to earn more, and that improves the very tax base you're trying to buoy up. So these are looking at longer term solutions for your budget. It's actually incredibly challenging for our organization to rally our entire membership around a bond and a levy campaign. And yet, in my 7 years here, we have done so twice. So the business community does feel they have very much paid in to your livability effort and are investing daily in that with the tax dollars that are coming into the city. Unequivocally, if businesses are earning more money and healthier and people are relocating their businesses here and bringing employees with them, the tax base for the city of Salem grows with that. And I believe that would be a substantial starting place to buoy up and continue to buoy up your efforts in public safety.
Okay, thank you.
City Manager Numbury.
Well, thank you, CEO Hofford. Thank you for the presentation tonight. As you were speaking, I was reflecting on, over the past 12 months, we have heard several times from the business community and from Chamber, several small businesses, and myself and the leadership team, several directors heard the concerns that the businesses are facing in Salem. As I kind of listening to testimony tonight, I'm looking at 2 different things, right? One is the safety concerns, in downtown and the rest of Salem. And also the second piece of it is you talked about reducing barriers for small businesses. What I was going to say, thank you, Councillor Teigen, for asking those questions, and that's kind of the reality we are dealing with on the budget side of it. But what I also want to kind of assure the business community and Salem community was this council, the city, taking that huge step towards a pilot program, investing those dollars, just to be able to see what difference we can make for this community. And to me, I always say this, that includes your sheltered population, unsheltered residents, businesses, visitors. And it is true that the economic development is going to bring us more revenue to the city, right? But it's also a balance. We just have to be able to figure out how much are we willing to invest, just enough to not to put city in the budget deficit, right? So I just want to say, I think we are making progress, and it might not feel like we are going at the rate that we want to go. I know all of us on this dais feel that. But I do think that it is important to try these pilot programs. There are more to come, and we are kind of balancing that. So I appreciate the patience. I know it just doesn't feel fast enough. But for me, it's always like one step at a time, and we need to move forward, not in the backward direction. So I think that's kind of on the safety side of it. And it is very unfortunate that there are incidents that still happen. But I think for this particular council, as I kind of talk to them individually, the safety of this community is very important. I think we need to continue to move forward. What I was going to kind of focus on, responding to your questions about the reducing barriers for small businesses. And the leadership team and I have been talking about this quite a bit over the past 12 months. And I think I'm kind of, every time I look at the sign code issues and the permitting process, I think we'll be spending less time if we just kind of go ahead and address it. It's feels like there is a lot of overhead on the city side too. I don't think it's just the businesses. We are also spending a lot of time in addressing some of those concerns. What we talked about, and Kristen Rutherford and I had a good conversation. I'm talking about it for many months, like from the leadership team. What you can see coming for the next few months is we are going to, I think the direction we will be taking is to focus less on enforcement, but more on education and outreach and communication materials. Our goal is to help businesses to do better in the community. And how can we reduce those barriers is what we are focusing on. I don't have a solid plan today to kind of give what it is, but we are working on a plan, and we will be presenting that to the council. So there is more to come on it. So I just don't want the community to think that we have been ignoring it. I haven't been, or we haven't been. To me, it's every time we move forward with a plan, it requires like a little bit of analysis to figure out, because you want that to stick. Because I don't think it's a good idea to give anything just for today. Let's figure out what we can do on a short-term basis, what is a long-term solution. So I appreciate the leadership team kind of working on this, so there is more to come on it. I just want to kind of assure that. And then so along with that, there is also work that we'll be presenting on the code improvements and the permit process improvements. So that is also something that we will be bringing forward. So I just want to kind of give that. I know it doesn't feel like we're addressing fast enough, but soon to come on this. And this council has been supportive with that initiative. So just want to give you that update.
City Manager Namburi, the city's communication to the Salem Chamber has never been better. I had the opportunity to serve at this organization for 7 years, starting in 1998, and have returned 70 years ago, almost to the date. So, and I served on the board of directors for 6 years when I was in the private sector. Categorically, I'm very close to the Salem Chamber, and it's been just an honor to do so. Never has the communication from the city been better than it is today. Your departments engage with us when they have information they'd like to get out to our membership. Admittedly, we have an incredibly deep and large email and communication chain with businesses in Salem. And that is not just to Salem Chamber members. Anybody can come and be a part and receive that information simply by supplying their email to understand the content that we're putting out. In fact, a few of them are in the back of the room. I always enjoy and see him. One thing I will say is, if the city has information that you feel would be valuable to get out in front of the business community, while we are not a one-stop, I mean, not every single business owner in the city of Salem is receiving our email, we have a huge breadth that we can communicate with. Your team has done an incredible job of that. I'd be remiss, on the 29th of this month, we will host from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. our Public Works projects for 2026 on how Salem area businesses can come and bid on them. The Salem Contractors Exchange partnered with us last month, and I made, last week, and made that announcement. That room, like last time, to your Public Works staff, will attest, it is absolutely packed. So if you have initiatives that you'd like us to bring out, City Manager Namburi, you have my full commitment that we will do exactly that, and we've seen it better than it's ever been in the past, and I applaud you and your councilors for this leadership in getting people connected.
Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam City Manager. Mr. CEO, so going back to something you said earlier, you mentioned a lot about the Governor's Prosperity Initiative. So that's kind of like in the background of my mind. And I'm also thinking about the short session, which is about to start here real soon. Mm-hmm. And you had shared that I think our ranking is like at 17th.
17th to the top.
Tax burden?
Tax burden.
Right, 17th. Mm-hmm. So with her initiative in the background and the short session coming up, what are you most optimistic for in this short session?
Categorically, I don't know that the short session is going to provide us with a lot of short sessions by design are not meant to flesh out major structural issues in the state. I will say, if you don't mind, I'm going to reframe my answer a little different way. The governor finally coming out and saying how important small businesses are to this community has not been a message heard in her term in office. And yes, this is an election year, so maybe some of these things are politically predictable. But Oregonians remembering how much of the wealth that comes in to fund government comes from small businesses and their employees is being recognized at a high that has not been heard in quite some time. So Dr. Brown, I'm very encouraged that businesses, because remember, our businesses are employing all of our communities, all of them. And that message of our importance needs to be reedified, and it needs to be recognized in policy decision making. The governor has taken the lead in how she will approach that at the state level, and I would ask for that partnership from this body at the local level.
Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor.
Anyone else? Well, Mr. Hoffert, I want to take this moment to thank the business community for their support, the donation for the extra HST officers and further sanitation efforts is really, I believe it's making a difference already. And I'm grateful, and I think this council is grateful too. So thank you very much. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions? And just for the record, it's Mila with an L, Mila.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And
thank you, Council.
Thank you, sir. All right. Someday maybe Mila will be sitting up here, I predict. Okay, we are moving on to information reports. Just stop me if you want to speak to any of these, please. Item 6A, purchases approved administratively for November 1, 2025 through November 30, 2025. Item 6B, hearings officer decision, a zone change from RM1, multifamily residential to RM2, approved. Item 6C, hearings officer decision, conditional use permit to allow short-term rental in an existing single-family dwelling located at 3130 Eagle Ray Court Northwest, approved. Item 6D, a motion by Mayor Julie Hoy to direct staff to coordinate with ODOT to formulate a plan to address cleaning and maintenance of ODOT right-of-way within Salem. And that concludes the information reports. Moving on to ordinances, we have no first readings. We're on to 7.2 second readings.
Ordinance Bill number 1025, an ordinance declaring certain territory located at 4952 Center Street Southeast, annexed to the City of Salem, prescribing zoning and withdrawing the territory from the Salem-Marion County Fire District number 1. Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Vang.
I have a question on this one. Is the address 4952 Center Street Northeast, or did I hear a southeast? Or does that not matter?
City Recorder?
Oh, pardon me. I did say southeast, and that's, I stand corrected. It should be northeast.
Great.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Then aye.
Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to 7.2B.
Ordinance Bill number 1125, an ordinance declaring certain territory located at 3741 Langley Street Southeast and the 3700 to 3800 blocks of Langley Street Southeast and Timbet Drive Southeast, annexed to the City of Salem, prescribing zoning and withdrawing the territory from the Turner Rural Fire Protection District. Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Vang.
Aye.
Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councillor Matthews?
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy?
Aye. The motion passes. We moved item 8, public comment, to the beginning, but I understand there might be someone in the room who wanted to sign up late. Yes, come on forward and please state your name, your address, or your ward for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And the green light's still on there, so you're good to go.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Sherry Shaw, and up until very recently, I am the proud business owner of Torque Automotive. And up until 2 weeks ago, my business was located in Ward 1, and it has recently been forced to move to Ward 2. I live in West Salem, which is Ward 8. I wanted to speak tonight after hearing Mr. Hoffer from the Chamber speak with you folks, because I am a business owner, and I am directly affected by the sign code specifically, but the permitting process here in Salem. And I very much so appreciate Mr. Hoffer and him stating our concerns from the city and from the city's businesses, but I want you to actually hear from someone who is a business owner. It is so hard to be a business owner in this community and to feel like you're constantly being under attack from the city, specifically with the sign code, and it makes me feel very happy to hear City Manager speaking of wanting to look into that further to see what the city can do to work with business owners. However, I also want to bring to your attention that I am one of those people that was affected by that. I was facing thousands of dollars worth of fees, and I actually took our case to a hearing. And at that hearing, the deputy city attorney stumbled over themselves to push over a chair to get to my attorney to settle a deal where basically they told us they would stop fining us and stop feeing us the thousands of dollars that they wanted to fee us if we would just apply for yet another permit. And so therefore we agreed, because at this point we were thousands of dollars in the hole over this, and it has come to my attention recently that that is not the message that the city sign department or that the city attorney's department has made it look like to other folks in the city. And so while I appreciate that you are referring to making it so that you will have a conversation about how effective this is, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to ask the city, the people who are business owners, if they want to be a part of that conversation, because the information that you are currently getting isn't necessarily the whole picture, and it doesn't necessarily reflect the...
Thank you for your comment. Sherry, Councillor Brown has a question for you. Can you please come back? And if you don't want to, you don't have to.
That's true. You can say no. You don't have to. So you mentioned, and I can just read in the emotion. So do you mind sharing with us how much you have spent on this?
Thousands.
Hit the button so we can hear you. Thank you.
Thousands of dollars. I initially had emailed this. I started my business a year and a half ago, and I initially emailed the city, and I asked them what it was I needed to do, and I got an answer as I needed to do these steps, including have some sign permits, which I did, and I paid money then. And then 5-6 months later, after the fact, I got nasty grams from the sign department that were in violation, telling me that I had to have more permits and that different permits weren't. I mean, months later, and they were those very real documents that they sent me and my landlord to 4 different addresses were telling me that they were going to continue to fine me. I had thousands and thousands of dollars in fines that I was looking at, and it just kept compounding. And I was even told that if I didn't want to comply, they would double the fines. because they could. I hired an attorney and I paid thousands of dollars to an attorney to fight this. And like I said, that is when it actually came to the point of being at a hearing, and the deputy city attorney pushed over a chair to get to our attorney. That's how eager he was to get to our attorney to strike a deal. And he said, if you will just sign yet another permit, another thing, then we will stop the fines. I mean, we were looking at tens of thousands of dollars of fines, and we will stop it. And so that is why we decided as a family that we wanted to just bend, just sign up for, even though we didn't believe in it, we would just sign up for yet another permit so that way the fines would stop, the attorney fees would stop. And then to recently find out that that's not what was conveyed to other folks in management, what they were told was that we knew we were in the wrong, so that's why we caved, which is not true. It's not true at all. It was, as a small business, I had to choose if I was gonna keep paying fees and fines and attorney fees, or if I was gonna keep my kid in daycare and preschool.
I'm sorry. And my sorry doesn't fix that. And I recognize that. Has it been resolved? Or are we still in the thick of it?
I have moved my business. I was forced to move my business because my previous landlord is a business owner himself, and he has his own plans for his business, and he didn't want to be blackballed by association from me and what was happening. So he made us leave, and now we have a new business, it's the same business in South Salem. And now my business in South Salem has no signs, none, because I am terrified to sign up for a sign permit and go through that process again. So now I have a business in South Salem that I am trying my hardest to keep going with no signs.
I'm sorry, and I know I can't apologize on behalf of the city, but thank you for sharing. And I believe that Madam City Manager is definitely, she's the one to get behind the scenes to help fix it and make it better. So I apologize you're going through all of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Did anyone else have any questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. It's very brave to show up and do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have nothing further. We're adjourned.